Hey, it's William. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to write landing pages in the style that Audienti uses. What we use is a combination of a few different things, kind of a StoryBrand type structure combined with an Insight writing structure, really combined with a few incremental changes that we've made, kind of optimizations through the years as we've built landing pages for ourselves as well as other people. So let's get rolling. The high converting landing pages have, generally speaking, a pattern. And one of the big mistakes that people make when they build landing pages is they build them talking about their product or their solution or themselves, navel gazing really about themselves. And at the end of the day, no one cares about you. They care about themselves, just like you care about yourself. And they care about the transformation that they're trying to achieve. And so we lead with, what is the thing that I'm going to get out of working with you? There's a philosophy called jobs to be done. StoryBrand doesn't talk about jobs to be done, but those two align very naturally in that people have a job, and this doesn't mean it's a job. It could be a product, right? But it's the idea that they have something that needs to be completed, and they have a place they are today that they're not happy with, and they have a place they want to go that is kind of that outcome that they want to achieve, and that self-actualized self of how they feel about achieving that outcome. And so it's your job as a solution to take that person through that process and get them to that transformation. And so leading with transformation is what we do. That's essentially what our header should accomplish. We do that through the process, right? The next thing that we cover is stakes. So if someone doesn't move forward with the transformation, what happens if they continue to do the same? What are the risks to them, that kind of thing? And we'll cover all this in a bit. But that's essentially what the second section is. The third section is unique value. And the key here is, in the context of delivering the transformation, why is your solution different than what anybody else provides? And so it's really important because people tend to say, oh, they're the one that does this, or they're the one that has this. They need these handles to hold on to the differences between people, the different solutions or potential ways that they can solve their problem. And so the unique value is about establishing very, very clearly in the mind of the consumer, you're the one that does this. And this unique value is super important and makes the probability that I'm going to get that transformation much, much higher. So that's what unique value is about. Guide is where you talk about yourself, but really this is about establishing less you and more that you're part of a momentum of a train that's leaving the station, that is, this is the way it's going to be done. And so you're a part of that, and you're already on the train, and you can help them get on the train with you. It's less about establishing yourself as, I'm a super authority, or bragging about how much money you make, or any of that, right? The idea is the train is leaving the station, you're on the train, you know how to get on the train, and you're trying to help them get there because you've been off the train and you know how bad that feels. Next is plan. In plan, this is where you're making your offer. And your offer isn't just buy this and you're done. I mean, maybe it is, but generally speaking, there is a couple of step process that's required to achieve the transformation. Again, really the focus here is not on what you sell, but how what you sell transforms. And so when you lay out what your offer is, you need to lay it out in the context of, this is how we're going to achieve your transformation, right? You're going to take the course and you're going to apply the principles and you're going to get the result. It's a super simple way of looking at it. But you want to make it really clear in their head, what are the things that have to happen in order for them to achieve the transformation? And again, de-risking to the idea that needs to be as simple as possible so that they feel like it's something that they can realistically achieve. So what you get is the next one. It's super important to understand this because what you're doing here is it's a visualization exercise. You're trying to make the person understand visualize using the tool, using the solution, using the product, and seeing themselves getting the benefit. And so you want to make that visualization very clear to them. It's why we do demos, for example, right? You want the point of the demo is not to communicate how it is, but it's to visualize so that they visualize using it to get the benefit. Biggest objections. So here, this is a frequently asked questions section usually. And the key here is not to cover the stuff that is the boring stuff, right? You really want to handle things that would be objections that people would have, the reasons why they would choose to go a different way than the way that they're currently going. And then lastly, bonus or de-risk. The idea here is changing. Ultimately, the transformation is against the status quo. You're not really competing with a competitor. You are competing against the way they do things today. And so you want to make that easy by de-risking the decision, giving them ways to get out of it, making them feel like there's not a lot of risk to move forward. But at the same time, you want to make sure you balance that with not taking so much risk off of the table or taking time components off the table so that they have to give it a serious shot. Because one of the problems that we've seen is that people take so much risk off the table. You don't require a credit card. You don't require a sign up. You don't require a login. You don't require all these things that you're trying to take friction off the table. You take so much friction off the table that it doesn't become a priority for them in order to try to see if this will help them get to where they want to go. And so we de-risk, but we need to de-risk in a way that doesn't take the impetus to give this thing a fair shake off the table. And so that is the pattern of communication that we're going to do on a landing page. Typically, these lay out exactly in these steps from top to bottom. And that's the way we go. And so let's take a look at each one and talk about them in a little bit more detail, and then we'll finish this off. So transformation. To do a transformation, basically what this section needs to cover, we talked about this, is, and I use an example, right? A mother wants to keep her kids from getting sick. That's their objective, right? The thing they're trying to achieve, the job to be done. What you sell in this example is immune boosting gummies, and you will transform her from a helpless parent, which is her current state because she can't keep her kids from getting sick, to an empowered protector, her actualized state where her kids are protected from being sick and all the benefits that come along with that, right? They're not missing plays. They're not all of that. So it's important to really understand this at the beginning because this transformation frames everything else that's on the page. And if you don't understand what this transformation is that you're promising that person, the promise that you're making, right? And because this stuff here, the transforming from a helpless parent to an empowered protector, that's a promise you're making to the person. And so it's important that you understand what that promise is and that you are framing everything around delivering that promise. So stakes, the key here is to think about what are the consequences of not doing anything, right? Because ultimately we're always competing against the status quo. And so thinking in the guise of what will happen, what will people think, how will you feel, what are the economic impacts? In most B2B, a lot of it is economic impact, right? How much are you missing out on, right? So opportunity costs, those kind of things. And ways to frame this are things like if-then statements, right? So if you don't do anything, you're going to get the results you have today. And if you do something, then you're going to get something new, right? So these kind of logical, almost logical fallacies, but you want to frame it like that. And then the other one is like what most people do. What most people do here today is they just, they try their best. They do these things that may or may not work. On the other hand, right, we have this unique value, right? And the key here is to establish your unique differences, but do it in the context of your transformation. So if your unique difference doesn't directly impact the probability that the transformation will occur, then that isn't a unique difference that's valuable to that person. And the more data you give them, the less they are likely to make a decision. And so these need to be super crystal clear and framing your unique differences in a way that increase the probability that they're going to succeed. And then another thing that's important is your offer, your context, your differentiation needs to be in the context of something that they currently already do, right? So the job that we talked about before, the thing that they're trying to accomplish, the outcome they're trying to accomplish, right? That needs to be something that is already existing in their mind. You can't reach into their brain and say, hey, you need to create this new thing, this new job for yourself. And then I can sell you something to do that, right? That the realization, the mental place where they realize they already have this problem, they already have this thing they need to accomplish, this job they need to do, needs to already be there. And so your unique value needs to tie to that job. And your unique value, your differences need to make that transformation simpler. And that's how it de-risks the probability that you're not going to succeed with the transformation. So it should remove steps, it should make it easier, faster, simpler, and it should be obvious that if you have this new capability, this new difference, this unique value, that unique value accomplishes that and makes it more likely that you're going to be able to achieve what you want to achieve. But another thing to this is that it needs to be believable, right? It needs to be, I can see how this is going to happen. So that's an important point. So then you transition to the guide, right? And so this is where you talk about yourself, right? You in StoryBrand, the idea is that they are the hero, you are the guide, right? They are the Luke Skywalker, you are the Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, but a little difference than StoryBrand. I think that sets us up for this idea that I end up navel gazing again, right? I talk about myself. I talk about all my credibility. I talk about all my wins. I talk about all my money. I talk about all my, the default way of doing it with StoryBrand can focus on you a little too much. And so I really try to focus on other people's authority, right? We're leveraging other people's authority to do this. So what we're going to do is use social experts, right? Showing stats or talking about this new, better way of doing things. Stats, facts, figures, reported elsewhere, bringing in those brands into your landing page and showing that there's this bubbling of the fact that this sucks and this needs to be done better. And then making them feel like the direction is changing and people are moving to this new way of doing it, right? This is going to become the new de facto way of making your kids healthier, right? That everybody's going to be using these immune boosting gummies, to go back to the original transformation. So, and then the way that I think I've already said the analogy, right? The idea here is the train's leaving the station. So establishing that the train is leaving the station, right? These authorities are talking about it. All these other people are talking about it. This is going to be the way we do it. This is the model that you need to be using. And I'm already on the train, right? I figured out how to do this, right? That's what I'm trying to sell you. And I understand that it's difficult to get on the train. So I've made this really simple. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. And I'm willing to help you get there. And so it's not that I'm some massive expert. It's not that, that I am your guru that you should follow. It is more that I'm just a little bit ahead of you and I know how to get on the train. And so I'm just going to get you there so that you don't have to go through the hassle and headache of doing it yourself. So that's what we do with the guide. The plan. So the important thing with the plan, so this is where you make your offer, right? So it says, so I've got this course, or I've got this gummy, or I've got this whatever, right? And here it is, right? And we're not talking about features so much, right? At this point, right? We're going to be talking about kind of features in the next section. With this, what we're saying is, here's the plan, right? So I have this gummy, and here's the steps to the 30-day plan for your kids to 3x their immune system. And so, you order the gummies, right? You deliver them, twice a day for 30 days, and and then you're going to be 3x protected, right? That kind of thing. You have software. They buy the software. They let the software do a few things for them, and then they get an outcome or a result that they want to do. And so you're trying to really do 3 steps here. But this is where you're saying, okay, this is the buy, right? You have a plan, and you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this, and you're going to be there, right? There was an old Apple commercial when they first did the iMac. In the day, they would say, get it out of the box, plug it in, turn it on, and that's it, right? It was up and running. You're on the internet. So you want to make it feel simple, easy, and you want to tie back to the transformation, because at the end of the day, this is just a path to that transformational outcome that the person is trying to achieve. So what you get, the next section, is basically that your goal here is to make it feel tangible, right? They need to see it, smell it, feel it. This is where you talk about features. This is where you, and really it's less about features. It's about them visualizing themselves doing it and getting a result, right? You may show features in here. You may talk about the benefits of those features, but the idea here is really that they come out of this feeling like the offer is tangible, feeling kind of visualizing themselves getting that result. And then next, you deal with objections. And here, I want to talk about this a bit, in that what the biggest thing to understand is that when you're dealing with someone who is thinking about making a change from the status quo, what drives them forward is the possible of achieving this outcome that they want to achieve. But what holds them back is not understanding the existing, well, what do I not know about this existing product or solution how much of this should I have? And, how much time is it going to take? And so those kind of questions about, well, so if I implement this, what are all the questions that I don't know that I may feel create risk for me or confusion for me? And so those first kind of questions, those are kind of questions that you want to address. The second kind of questions are that you want to address, and slide here probably isn't the best example of this, but the second kind of questions you want to address are the ones where you are dealing with the status quo, and you want to reemphasize why the status quo is not a good approach, right? So you're answering questions about, if you're buying a computer, how much RAM do I need? How much hard disk do I need? Right? Can I access all the games that I thought I could access? Right? Those kind of things. And then you're saying, okay, versus your old one, if I have my old one, what are workarounds that people potentially could do? And why are those inferior to making a change? Why do those increase the risk to not achieving the outcome that you're trying to achieve? And then you've got the risk of the new, the risk of the old, and then the risk of the other. And the risk of the other, you really want to focus on, are there a few key competitors? What are the things that they say that are their differences, their unique value? And then you want to blunt those, right? You want to say, well, other solutions that may provide this aren't really helping you because there's not really anything new there, right? You want to just make it seem like they're either you want to position them to the old, that they're a part of the old way of doing it versus the new way, or you want to position them as what they have here is kind of also ran. We already have that as well, but we also have this unique difference that they don't have. And so those are the ways you want to position the objections framed into a frequently asked questions. But the idea is to pre-handle as many objections as you can, the ones that are most likely to happen. And obviously you want to skip all the generic stuff, right? So a lot of people have like credit cards and, where did you come from? And, nobody cares, right? It is about the objections that actually keep you from making the sale. And then lastly, de-risk. So de-risk or bonus. So people will throw bonuses in here, and bonuses are a way of making the person feel like, oh my gosh, more value. And I think you can do that. I think there's not harm in doing that. However, most of the time, the thing you need to actually massively accomplish is de-risk. So you want them to perceive that they take all the risk away. And the key here is, things like testimonials for the product is ideal. Testimonials for you or your business. If you don't have testimonials for the product, you're just in the process of launching that, as well as money back guarantees, that kind of thing. And related to that, though, it's important to understand that you need to leave them with skin in the game. And so one of the things that can happen, and it happens particularly in B2B or software, that kind of thing, startups that are trying to launch a product, they will go into the process of doing that, and they try to reduce the friction so much that they take all of the risk out to the person, and they take out so much risk that there's no impetus or no urgency for them to try the product. And so the key here, because again, they have a status quo. They already have a way of doing the thing that they're doing. And so you have to give them, the transformational outcome that you give has to be compelling to them. And then you need to, when you get to this point in the conversation, right, which this page is effectively a conversation, you need to leave them with some skin in the game. Now, you may not leave them thinking they have any skin in the game on this page of like your landing page, right? You take them to the checkout page, it's a trial at 14 days, and then it kicks in at a certain dollar a month, right? Or something like that. But there needs to be that skin in the game. That's critical, because without that, you can get into a situation where you're doing all the work, you're putting all of it out there, and not because your product is inferior, but just because they've got a lot of other things going on. They don't give it the fair shake that it needs. And so it's important that you have that little bit of skin in the game on their side. And so that's really it. So you lay out these things top to bottom. Obviously, you can bonus that kind of thing. But, again, we start with the transformation. What are you going to get from working for me? What happens if you continue doing it the way you're doing it today? What do I bring that's unique to the table that's going to make this transformation more likely to happen? Excuse me. Why the ship is leaving the station to this new way of doing it, and how I can help you get there. what's our plan to get you there, including our sale, what you get from that, how easy it's going to be and how much you're going to love using it. What are my problems or objections that might keep you from going, and how do we handle those? And then why there's really no risk to you to give this a shot, because at the end of the day, I've taken all the risk off the table for you as much as possible. And so that is what a landing page should cover. I hope that this has been helpful and instructive for you. And if you have any questions about it, you can definitely reach out to me in the Growmance Slack channels, and I'm happy to talk you through landing pages. Thanks, and have a great day.